Hello students, today again we are continuing with biology class 12th new syllabus chapter number 14, that is ecosystem and energy flow. Today is the second lecture of this chapter. Okay. Topics covered in our last lecture were the introduction. We have studied in our last lecture about the introduction of the lesson. We have studied about the ecosystem. Then we have studied about the types of ecosystem. And we have studied about the classification of ecosystem. Okay. When I say types of ecosystem, that means it is related to types of ecosystem. It is related to one second students. Okay. Natural ecosystem, and that is terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Okay, when I say types of ecosystem means terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. And then we have studied about classification of ecosystem. That means the ecosystem are classified as natural ecosystem and artificial ecosystem. Okay, so this all topics we have covered in our last lecture. Topics that are deleted from this chapter are 14.1 ecosystem, 14.2 energy flow, 14.3 ecological pyramids, 14.4 nutrient cycles, and 14.6 ecosystem services. Okay, so majority of the topics are deleted from this chapter. Only the topic that you have to study for examinations are 14.5 ecological succession. So today we will start with the actual topic, that is ecological succession. In our last lecture we have studied about the introduction of the chapter. Okay, when I say ecological succession, first let us know what is meant by succession. When I say succession, it means it is a special pattern which occurs over the time. Okay, succession means a special pattern of the ecosystem that occurs over a time. Time is a very crucial factor. That means time plays a very important role. Okay. The ecosystem is occupied by the pioneer species. Initially, earlier, when I say, we can say that the ecosystem is occupied by the pioneer species. Pioneer species means the species that are occurring first, the first species. So the ecosystem was initially occupied by the pioneer species. And as the time passes, species diversity increases, giving way to more complex organisms. Yes, definitely as the time will go, there will be species diversity. One or the other species will be coming new, or some of the species will be removed, they can be died. Okay, so there may be different diversities as the time goes. Okay, there time passes, species diversity increases, and it gives way to the more complex organisms, and eventually we can say that it leads to climax community, which does not evolve further. At the last, anything when there is a changes going on, okay, initially pioneer species, then there as the time will go, there will be diversity in the organism, and at the last it will be leading to climax community. And once when the climax community is reached, it will not change further. There will be no evolution further taking place. Okay. Next, coming on to the actual topic, that is ecological succession. Okay, ecological succession. When I say ecological succession, it means the definition is the gradual and predictable change in the species composition of a given area is called ecological succession. The gradual and predictable change in the species composition of a given area is called ecological succession. That means I can give you one example. I will give you one example for this. That initially when we go on the highway road, initially we used to see all the trees were there. Okay, all the trees were there. Forest was found to be there on the highway side. But now, when there used to be forest, the animals used to live there. But now When we have cut down all the forest, all the trees, and we have constructed buildings on it, so now human beings are staying in those buildings. So the species composition of that area is changed. Yes, initially when there was a jungle, when there was a forest, the animals used to live there. Now when the buildings are constructed there, houses are constructed there, flats are constructed there, the human beings are staying there. So species composition has been changed. That means from animals, now the species have been changed to human beings. That means the gradual and predictable change in species composition of a given area. Such a change is known as ecological succession. The change is sequential and environmental regulated. All these changes that are occurring is sequential. That means it takes place one after the another, and it is regulated by the environment. It is controlled by the environment. Now we will study about the process of succession. Process of ecological succession. When I say process of ecological succession, it occurs in sequential steps like nudation, invasion, competition and coaction, reaction, stabilization. Okay, the process of ecological succession takes place in the following steps: nudation, invasion, competition and coaction, reaction, and stabilization. Okay, so one by one we will study the definitions of all this and details about this. First one is nudation. This is the first step of succession. Okay, nudation is the first step of succession. What do you mean by nudation? Nudation means development of a bare area. That means there is an area there without any life. It exists. And when the development takes place in such a bare area, that is called as nudation. There are some causes of nudation. That is topography, climatic, and biotic. There is no need to study these causes of nudation in detail. Just study the definition of nudation, that is development of bare area. Nudation means development of bare area which exists without any life. Second step is invasion. Invasion means successful establishment of species in a bare area. First step, we have started the development of bare area. Second step, when there is a development in the bare area, successful establishment of species takes place in that bare area. And this establishment, that is invasion, is completed in 3 steps. That is migration, acasis, aggregation. Migration, acasis, aggregation. Migration means the dispersal of seeds, spores, propagules reach a bare area. When the seeds and spores are reaching to the bare area, that is called as migration. Second step is acasis. Acasis means the process of successful establishment of species. Okay, when they reach to bare area, and then the establishment of this species is known as acasis. And the last one is aggregation. That is, after acasis, individuals of a species increase their number and they stay close to each other. You can see here the diagram. Okay, individual of a species increase their number. They are increasing in number and they stay very close to each other. Such type of arrangement is known as aggregation. Okay. Next step is competition and coaction. Aggregation results, when we have seen aggregation results in large number of species within a limited space, because many species are staying close to each other. So this leads to the large number of species within limited space, and this results in competition. Okay, this results in competition. Competition can be for food or space, and the competition can be intraspecific or interspecific. Intraspecific, when I say, it means the competition between the two same species. and interspecific means the competition between the two different species. Okay, so individuals of the species affect each other, and that is known as coaction. Okay, the individuals of the species affect each other, and that is known as coaction. Competition and coaction both results in elimination of unfit individuals and survival of fit individuals. That means all those individuals which are unfit for the survival, they will be eliminated after the competition and coaction, and all the individuals that are able to survive, that are fit, will be surviving after competition and coaction. A species with wide reproductive capacity and ecological amplitude will survive. Okay. Next step is reaction. When I say reaction, that means most important stage in ecological succession. This is the most important stage of ecological succession. It is the modification of the environment through influence of living organism present on it. Okay, modification of the environment through the influence of living organism that is present on it. Means it depends on changes in the environment because of the living organism that are present in the surrounding. Due to reaction, change in soil, water, light and temperature, etc. are modified. Due to the modification, the present community becomes unsuitable for the existing environmental condition. Because of the changes that are taking place, many times many changes are taking place in the environment, and when these changes are taking place, it becomes the organism, the existing organism, to survive in such a condition, such environmental condition. The conditions can become unsuitable for the existing environmental condition. Such communities will be quickly replaced by another community. When organisms are unfit for the survival, they are replaced. They immediately move to the another place. And when they move to the another place, another community comes and settles there. Such communities will be quickly replaced by another community, and this is known as seral. Okay, seral stage, when the community is replaced by another community. Sere means the whole sequence of communities that replaces one another in a given area is called sere, ecological sere. That means whole sequence of community that replaces one another in a given area, because they are unfit, so they will be moving to another place, and all those who are fit will come on that place. So that changes, that community replacement is known as sere, ecological sere. Various communities contributing sere are called seral state, seral community. Okay. Next and the last step is stabilization. Stabilization means the formation of climax community. When we say stabilization, it means the final stable, okay, climax community. And whenever the climax community is formed, it will be very much stable community. Once, as I have given the example, when there are buildings set up and human beings are staying in those buildings, we cannot now replace those human beings or with any other animals now. That means that those human beings are stable, and if they will move to another place, then another human being only will come there. Then there cannot be the species composition now. So once there is a stabilization step, climax community is called as climax community. Last stage of ecological succession. Final terminal community becomes more or less stabilized for longer time. This community can maintain its equilibrium with the climate of an area. Okay, this final community is called climax community, climax stage. Climax community is not replaced by any other communities. Climax community is determined by the climate of the region. Some of the examples of climax community are forest, grassland, coral reefs, etc. So you can see here some of the climax community, images of the climax community. So all these are the steps, process of ecological succession, which starts with the nudation, that means development of the bare area, and ends up in stabilization, that is development of the climax and the stable community, which is not going to change for a longer period of time. So the steps that are existing between nudation and climax community, that is nudation, invasion. Invasion consists of acacia segregation, then competition and coaction, reaction and stabilization. This all are finally going to lead and give us a climax and a stable community. Okay, so thank you for today. We will continue this chapter in our next lecture.